Well, hello everyone. How are you this evening? I hope everyone's well and warm. We're a little chilly where I live, um, but that's all right. We have long sleeve clothes and we have heat, so I'm grateful. This is Friday's Hope. Welcome to Friday's Hope. This is where we share hope with everyone, everywhere, through every situation, in every situation, because there's always hope. There is always hope. No matter the situation, I promise you, there's always hope. I'm Sue Barnhart. I'm one of the ministers at the Worship Center Ministries here in Northern Illinois. And I just want to say hello. Tonight we're going to be talking about loss. We've all been through that, loss of many dear things and how to start over. Some ideas on how to start over. If you have any ideas, be sure and comment on my page and let me know what's worked for you and how you've seen hope work for you. So I started this, the reason I decided to do this particular subject tonight is because I kind of had to go backwards in my own self with living life. I got to the point lately where I didn't want to get up and do anything. Now I do a lot. And I kind of crawled out of bed going, oh, geez, here we go again. Even though I retired from my one job, I'm still a minister, so I still have responsibilities. And I love the ministry. I love my church. I love my church family, but I mentally was not doing well on a little level because I pick up pretty quick on this anymore for myself. I've had to learn to do that. And I started feeling like, what is wrong with me? I love doing what I do. Why don't I even want to get out of bed and do these things? It didn't make sense to me. But then a lot of things don't make sense to me, but I just couldn't figure it out. And then I realized that I was trying to do everything on my own, under my own power, under my own plan, under my own way of doing things. That doesn't work. No, I can't do everything the way what I do. Not on my own. I need help. And yes, I have help in the ministry. That's not the problem. I need help inside here. And that one verse that we hear people say all the time, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, shot up in my spirit like a rocket. And I thought, well, that's it. I've been trying to do everything on my own without asking Jesus to help me and give me the strength to do it. So that's what I was struggling with. But it got me thinking about how I had to start over spiritually, because that's a very minor verse. It's not a minor verse. Good morning, evening, my friend Paulette. Wow. Okay, I know what time it is. Really, I do. But that's a very basic verse that a lot of us believers learned early on. So I had to take a step back and go back to where I learned that verse about I can do things in His strength. It's not just my own. It's His. And I get to access His strength. He's given me that strength. He says, come on, I've got the strength. You just do what needs to be done, and I'll give you the strength. Just ask me. So then I've been talking to a few folks, and they've been going through loss, and they've been going through struggles, and I went, okay, I guess we're talking about loss, but not just loss, how to begin again, how to start again. And granted, these are ideas and thoughts. A lot of them I've done over my life. They may not all work for you. I even shared a couple that I hated hearing. But it was a true saying anyway. So I'm going to share some things that I read about and that I researched on that were quite interesting. It says, well, first of all, my biggest loss, and many of us have been through many different types of loss, physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, mentally, there's been a lot of losses in our life, in most everybody's life. I don't think there's one of us that hasn't had a loss of some sort in our life. And so I started thinking about that while I was doing this, and my first major loss was the loss of my childhood when I became ill. At 12, at 10 with ulcerative colitis. Spent the next 2 years in hospitals, in and out, sick, back in, better, out, needles, blood work. And I'm a kid, I'm 10, 11, 12, 2 major surgeries during that time. And so there was a loss of my childhood. There was a loss of my physical ability to be able to control my bowels. There was a loss of my health. I was down to, when I was 10, I was down to 40 pounds. I couldn't keep anything in. I couldn't keep anything down. So I lost a lot within those 2 years. And that stuff can get you, and how did I cope? I just kept moving forward. I just kept doing life. Okay, that's great, and I would encourage you all to do that, but I would also encourage you all to make sure that you go through the steps you need to go through for your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, because this stuff, whatever your loss is, affects all of you across the board. And I can tell you in my 70s, I'm still finding things that 2-year span affected me. 2-year span of this stuff affected me greatly. And so I can tell you that it's important that we research and get and work through those things. We have the resources to do that now. Back in the 60s, they didn't talk about that. I remember seeing a psychologist a couple of times. That was it. That was it. Of all the things I was going through, just saw this lady. Her name was Miss Halverson. Sweet lady, but limited back then. So over the years, with God's help and a lot of study and a lot of prayer, I've resolved a lot of those issues. So it's important that we seek some help and some guidance when we've gone through loss. There's things, like I said, that I'm still dealing with. And so this gal who has a PhD, her name is Annalisa, isn't that a pretty name? Enrelli, I think, wrote a paper on how to begin again. And many of her points are things I wish I had known early on. But she has some interesting points. She says the Cambridge Dictionary defines starting over as to begin to do something again in a different way. And that's the key factor, in a different way. I can do something different, but it can actually be the same thing. Okay? So in a different way. And then a gentleman by the name of Anam Grant, who wrote a book called Think Again, says that we must rethink the way we think and approach our assumptions and habits in a different way. Isn't that true? Oh my goodness. You know what they say about assumptions? It makes a blank out of you and me. Don't assume. Please don't assume. Ask questions. Do the research. Please don't assume. Assumptions always get us in trouble. We must rethink the way we think and approach our assumptions and habits in a different way. This is something I had to learn to do. I learned to think about myself differently because of my illness, because of abuse I endured later on, because of great loss financially. I pretty much figured I was a failure. It was something I did. It was my fault, and I didn't measure up to everybody else. So I became this person that just was very withdrawn, very shy, didn't hang out with in high school I probably had 4 friends. I knew everybody. I'd say hi to everybody, but I probably had 4 friends. And it's it's those life events, change us. But we have to see who we are according to Christ. We are loved. We are his child. We are amazing, amazing men and women of God that he's created specifically. He knit us together in our mother's womb. He designed us. He has a plan for us. Even amidst all the junk, he has a plan for us. So it's not only okay to change our minds, but it's something we can benefit from and should encourage others to do. And that's much of what we do in ministry is we encourage others to say, okay, I see what you're thinking. Now, how about this? Or let's see what this looks like. To help them move on to a better path, a better way of living instead of stuck in that old train of thought. How many of us have gotten stuck in the same train of thought and you're trying to get out of it going, wait, this isn't right? Yeah, it's important that we do that. And we encourage others to do that. And moving on, which I talked about early on. Moving on means you've accepted your loss. I'm not so sure I accepted my loss of my health. I just moved on because I knew that's what I had to do. So accept your loss, but that's not the same as forgetting. Also, it's not the same as forgiving. You may be upset and angry at whatever or whoever because of the loss, including yourself. Let yourself off the hook. Forgive. It just means that something happened and you had to live through it. And you got through it. Moving on means you've accepted your loss, but it's not the same as forgetting or forgiving. You can move on with your life and keep the memory of someone or something you lost as an important part of you. Okay? A good memory. In fact, as we move through life, these memories become more and more integral to defining the people who we are. While grieving a loss is an inevitable part of life, there are ways to help cope with the pain, comes with terms with the grief, and eventually find a way to pick up the pieces and move on with our lives. And sometimes there's a lot of pieces to pick up. Sometimes there's a lot that has to be taken care of. Don't try and do it all at once. Don't try doing everything at once, doing things the same way, expecting a different outcome. Yeah, I understand, Paulette. I've heard that more than once. And it doesn't work, does it? It does not work. So it's so important that if we have this multiplicity of pieces that led to this loss, or maybe there's more than one person involved, or maybe there's, this, that, or the other thing. If we have these multiplicity of pieces or people, don't try and go after it all at once. You can't do that. One piece at a time. Just like you're putting together a puzzle. You got this 1,000-piece puzzle on your table, right? And you cannot put that thing together all at once. But you can put it together piece by piece. And you might and you get some clues from the other piece on what piece to start with. That's much like our grieving process and our healing process. Absolutely. One piece at a time. And then once that's dealt with, once you forgive, once you heal from that, once you have a different thought life about that, go on to the other one. It's a process. We have a gentleman that preached a wonderful passage, a wonderful message a little while back. He said, trust the process. That is so true. There is a process to everything, unfortunately, and yes, we have to go through that process. I know we want to go from A to Z right now. Let's go A and jump to Z. No, that doesn't work. That does not work, let me tell you. Not even a little bit. So it's important to pick up those pieces one at a time. Even if the loss came all of a sudden and there was a lot to have to deal with, just deal with one loss at a time. I know some people that are dealing with financial stress and abuse and a loss of a child all at the same time. And they can't deal with that all at once. You have to deal with one thing at a time. So here's some steps. Acknowledge your pain. You know what, God, this hurts. I've said that to him. You know what, God, this really stinks. I don't like this. This hurts a lot, and I've cried, and I've really struggled with some things at times in my life. And I've been real honest with God. I talk with God just like I talk with y'all. Look, he already knows. He already knows me. So he knows what I'm going through. But if we're not honest, we can't, oh Lord, this kind of hurts a little bit. I know you'll get me through. No, God, this hurts. Tell your therapist, this hurts. Get a therapist. Tell your pastor, this hurts. Admit that. Admit that it's painful. You can't stuff it down. I've tried. I have tried. We have any stuffers in the audience? Anybody that likes to stuff things down and not deal with them and think, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Yeah, it will for a little while, but it does come back up and bite you in the butt. I can be a witness right there to that. So, next, accept the grief. That grief can trigger many different and unexpected emotions. Oh my goodness. When I was working my other job, I would be driving down the main road of our city, listening to my Christian music, thinking about the next patient I had, and this was a while ago. This isn't late. I worked for my company for like 8 years, so this was a while ago. And I'm going down. I'm having to go through the grief of divorce, and then my ex-husband got sick, and all this other stuff. And I'm driving down the road, and all of a sudden I want to cry. Nothing in my brain, no song triggered it. All I know is all of a sudden I want to cry, which is real inconvenient when you're in downtown traffic. I'm just saying. And I had to stuff that back in. I realized that's just part of the grief. That's just part of what happens sometimes. It just shows up out of nowhere. Okay. And of course, I can't go into my client's house crying all red-eyed, so I had to suck it all back in. But if you have to do that, when you get home or in a quiet place, you got to deal with that. What was that? What trigger was that? Unexpected emotions. Anger. I can tell you that there were times where I was working with somebody who normally I was very kind and I got along well with them, and all of a sudden I got real angry because they wanted something different in their routine. They're allowed to do that. It's their home. I'm their homemaker, okay? They're allowed to do that. But it got me angry, and it was a major thing. It was a minor detail. And I thought, okay, ding, there's an issue, Sue. You got to deal with this. Understand that your grieving process will be unique to you. Do you know that? You are not me, okay? You are not going to grieve like I grieved. You are not going to deal with life like I deal with. We only need one Sue Barnhart. I can guarantee you that. We do not need more than that. I might be able to give you some help. I might be able to give you some insight. I might be able to cause you to go in the right direction, but you are not going to go through life and go through grieving the same way I did. Not going to happen. Pick and choose what you are doing and work with those things and be okay with those things. It's okay if you do this, that, and the other thing, but you don't do this, that, and the other thing. It's okay if you cry more. I'm not a crier. That's why it shocked me. I'm driving in my car crying. What is this? Some people do cry. It's okay to do that and let people be that way. You are going to face life and face the struggles in a very unique way because God designed you to be very unique. You're supposed to be very unique. He designed you that way. He knit you together in your mother's womb exactly like you are. Maybe a few more pounds than what he originally knit together in my case, but you're unique. That's okay. Embrace that and then work with that in your grieving process. Seek out face-to-face support from people who care about you. Can I say that like 1,000 times? Seek out support from people who care about you face-to-face. not this stuff. Get on the phone, say, hey, Sally Sue, can we meet for coffee? Or can I come over? Do that. It is so important. Make sure there are people who can direct you to hope, who can direct you to God, who can direct you through to some positive things. We don't need anybody saying, oh, I know that is so bad. I don't know what you're going to do. No. Find the people who love you and who will direct you in a positive pathway in your thing. I'm very blessed to have people in my life that do that. And but find those people, hang on to those people, and ask them to help. Yes, I know it's hard to pick up the phone or text and say, hey, can I come over for coffee? I just really need to talk, or pop, or whatever your choice is. But it's important to do that. It's important to do that. Recognize the different, back up one. Support yourself emotionally by taking care of yourself physically. Do you know how important that is? Oh my goodness, let me tell you how important that is. When I stay home and I don't walk or I'm not active, let me tell you about my mental health. It is not good. I need to be out there with people. I need to be moving, even if it's in my own place I live. When my daughters asked me what I wanted to have for Christmas, and gave me a price of which she'd pay up to. And I've been looking at walking pads, not the other thing. I can't think of the name right now, but walking pads, a little less fast than the others, and a little bit easier and smaller, and they fold up and roll underneath your bed or your couch or whatever. And so I sent her a picture of one, and I'm praying she gets me one, because I don't want to be stuck in my home this winter when it starts snowing. In fact, it's cold now, and I'm struggling to walk much because outside, especially, and we in our small town don't really have a place to walk. I wish we did. The one thing I gotta say that the Dixon Park District does have a place that we can walk, but we have to work around everybody's soccer schedule and volleyball schedule and all these other things that they do there, which is wonderful. So we got to squeeze in during those times, and I'm not always available. But it's important that you take care of your mental health, your emotional health, by staying active. And I know some of you are limited on what your activity can be. I know some of you are limited that can't move very much. But you, hey Pearl, good to see you. But you definitely have to remember to keep moving. Keep taking care of yourself physically. Eat the good stuff. Yes, you can have junk every once in a while, but I mean, stay on top of your numbers for your diabetes if you have that, or your blood pressure, or your weight. That's my biggest struggle, is my weight. I lost 15 pounds and I'm stuck. Yeah. I haven't gained it back. That's a good thing, but I'm stuck. So I got to do something else with my diet. Anyway, so keep a track of your physical health to help your emotional, mental health. And then the last one, recognize the difference between grief and depression. Grief is a sadness, but it does slowly get better. Depression is where you've lost hope and you just don't want to crawl out of bed and do anything. Or you just get up and drag yourself through the day, but you just don't care. And there's 5 stages of grief. Most of us have heard these. Denial, this can't be happening to me. Anger, why is this happening to me? Who's to blame? Bargaining, make this not happen and I will do anything. We've all done that, especially with God. Depression, I'm too sad to do anything, and that's what happens. You get so sad you can't do anything. And then the last one is acceptance. I'm at peace with what happened. That's a big jump in between those two. And those 5 stages are great, but they're not meant to be etched in stone. They're not meant to be, you're going to do this, 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 and this. I know one of my losses. I didn't even go through all this stuff. I just got angry. I just went straight to anger. That's unfortunately what I do many times. Straight to anger. That figures. I figure that'll work. Yeah, it doesn't. But it's. Hey Shay. Um, good to see you, Shay. It is. But these stages of grief are there, and it kind of gives us a place to see where we're at and get through them and understand why we're reacting to certain things the way we are. If we're experiencing any of these emotions following a loss, it may help you to know that your reaction is normal and you'll heal in time. However, this is what I was just saying, not everyone who grieves goes through all these stages, and that's okay as long as you heal, as long as you continue to heal. Contrary to popular belief, you do not have to go through each stage in order to heal. In fact, some people resolve their grief without going through any of these stages. That would be kind of nice, but not me. And if you do go through these stages of grief, you probably won't experience them in a nice, neat order, okay? You might feel anger, and then you might feel denial, or it may get all mixed up. And that's okay. Don't worry about, well, I haven't done stage 1 yet. Who cares? You're in stage, whatever stage you're at. And so it's important to know those, just simply to know those. You know, in that acceptance one, there was one loss I dealt with, and I accepted it. And then all of a sudden I was upset again about it. And I thought, what? Well, there was another piece to it. There was another part to it. So I had to kind of go through the stages again. It's like peeling an onion. I was told this a long time ago. An onion has a lot of layers to it. And so do we. And when we go through loss, we have a lot of layers sometimes that we have to peel. We have a lot of layers that we have to continue to go through to heal, you know. And again, if we're dealing with multiple loss, there's a lot of layers to each loss. So give yourself time, let yourself off the hook, treat yourself with love, grab a hold of people that love you, that'll help you, grab a hold of your pastor, grab a hold of whoever, you know, that you can, that will encourage you and strengthen you and guide you to what you need to do. Some people resolve their grief without going through any of these stages. I had already just read that. Grieve the loss. Don't ignore your pain. Take time to reflect on your loss, to cry, to ask questions of yourself, to others, or God. I remember, this is a gentleman that wrote a book. He says he remembers having deep, heaving sobs after his wife left him. I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, but I recommend experiencing grief rather than ignoring it or stuffing it. Hello, me, stuffer. I'm going to tell you, no, that's not a good idea because it does come back. This tends to diminish ulcers, delayed rage, depression, suicidal ideations. Let me tell you what stuffing does for you. Not a good thing. Experience the loss. It hurts, I know, but it won't hurt forever. A little help from your friends during the divorce proceedings and my employment, my job quit. My job let me go. And that's who his people were to talk to, that they ate meals together, they watched football games together, they attended concerts and more, and all of a sudden they're gone. The counselor told him to go to a group that was divorce recovery. So rather than having the common goal of your job, which you don't have anymore, you now have the common goal of you're hurting, you're in pain, and you're all going through the same thing. I've taught a divorce recovery class, very good, very good. But find some place that will help you walk through those things, regardless of what the loss is. We have a great group, a grieving group through one of our hospice organizations. They have a wonderful meeting monthly, I think, for their people. Go through that. Go find your group. Find your group that'll help you get through that loss. Grab a hold of your friends and do that. Make friends and do that. Watch your vulnerabilities. And I thought this was interesting. This author is talking mainly about in the divorce group, because people were hurting so much because they lost their partner, that they were starting to look for another partner right away, or they were starting to date within the group. Yeah, don't do that. Not only that, you're vulnerable when you've just gone through a divorce. You're vulnerable when you've lost maybe your home or a large amount of money. You want to go buy something big or whatever. You're vulnerable when you've lost a member of your family. You know, maybe you want to hang out with another family instead of dealing with the thing. Maybe that family isn't such a great influence. Watch your vulnerabilities. What is calling to you that you want to be involved in, and make sure it's something that'll help you grow and get stronger in the situation that you're in. Mental health, personal health. Make sure if you have lost your personal health, you know, you're not, and you're struggling with something, don't go off on some wild diet. My brother had colorectal cancer, and it was pretty evasive, and they were able to take care of it. It did reoccur later in the ducts of his kidneys, but he was looking at all sorts of things. This is before the internet was even that big of a deal, but he was looking through all sorts of things. He thought a carrot juice diet would help. It didn't. I can't imagine. But anyway, that's what he thought. You know, stick with what's good for you, not the stuff. If you're struggling with your mental health, don't look for all the quick fixes. Find a good therapist that'll help you walk through that. Not and don't just sit in that muck and that mire. Grab a hold of somebody and that will help you. Look for a bright spot. Not every cloud has a silver lining, but maybe yours does. I hated that saying. I hated that saying with passion. Oh, there's a silver lining around every cloud. I hated that. Absolutely hated that. I couldn't see any silver linings. All I saw was pain and darkness. Don't tell me there's a silver lining around that particular thing. I'm not seeing it. And I don't believe you right now. Thank you very much. I didn't start to believe that until after I got to a point of my healing. I could start to see it in my own life. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I am a show me girl. And God has shown me many times that He is able to show me the silver lining of the situation that I've been going through. But boy, when they come at me with that and I'm struggling, I'll go, oh, I hated that saying. But now I understand there really is. I just have to wait until that cloud moves. I just have to wait until the sun, S-O-N, Jesus, comes shining better into my life, or I let Him into my life better to see that silver lining. But I truly hated that saying in the beginning. But there is, there will be, there can be. And I know it's I know some people can't even figure that out, how I'm saying it, but just trust me, in my life, there is. I've been through enough loss and struggle in my life to tell you categorically, there's a silver lining in the clouds. Just give yourself time and let yourself heal. Cherish your memories. Now, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it applies to some parts. If you've lost a member of your family or somebody close to you, cherish those memories you had with them. If you've lost maybe your home, cherish the memories you had in that home. Recall the fun times, the fulfilling experiences with your friends, your coworkers. Maybe you always had great friends in your house, you know. Noteworthy projects. Maybe you've lost your job. That's hard, but eventually you'll be able to recall those fun times with your coworkers. Be grateful. Don't be enmeshed in past memories, though. Don't stay stuck there. See what new memories you can make. See what new memories are coming from where you're at now. Okay, you can make new memories, I promise you. Turn the page. After appropriate grieving, there comes a time to move on. Perhaps you want to take a course, exercise, diet for health, develop a body, a hobby, meet new people or volunteer projects at civic clubs or church, go on vacation. Consider what you can learn from your loss. Often suffering develops character, patience, confidence, and opportunity to help others. How many times have we run across somebody that's going through something and you go, oh my gosh, I just went through that. So let me tell you what's helped me. And I get kind of excited when I'm actually able to do that. It helps others. So don't stay stuck back there. Keep moving forward. This last year, since I don't work 2 jobs anymore, I've joined an exercise bike program. I've joined an exercise group at our church. I went to New York City with a friend. That was amazing. And I've done several things that I haven't done before. I've always volunteered at my church, so that's not new. But what about other things I can do when I'm not so tired? So often suffering develops character and patience and confidence and opportunity to help others. What group is out there, what church is out there that would love to have your skill and experience help them? Find out. Get out there and do this. And my almost last, well, it isn't last. No, it isn't. Sink your spiritual roots deep. Deep. My coping resources include personal faith. This is a gentleman that's writing this book about the divorce of his wife. Once quite skeptical, I discovered spiritual life during college. Students who love and enjoy I admired explained that God loved me enough to send his son to die to pay the penalty due for all my wrongdoing. Then he rose from the dead to give me new life. I invite him in to enter my life, forgive me, and become my friend. Yes, you can be a friend of God. It says so in the scriptures. I found inner peace. Jesus promises he's going to give us peace. Assurance of forgiveness. God's forgiveness is everlasting. Strength to adapt with difficulties. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And a close friend who never promises to leave me. I will never leave you or forsake you. Once early believers said those who place their faith in Christ become new persons. They are not the same anymore. The old life is gone and a new life has begun. You can have a new life with Jesus. As you grieve your loss, seek support in good friends. Watch your vulnerability. Seek to turn the page. And may I encourage you to meet the one who can help you make things all new. He'll never let you down. I would encourage you to read Romans 12, 1 through 18. It's an amazing passage about reaching out to others. God is near and comforts you. It says in Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. He heals the brokenhearted and binds up our wounds, Psalm 147:3. He keeps track of all our sorrows. He's collected all your tears in his bottle. Wow, I'd love to see that bottle. I bet all those tears disappear, and he makes them into joy. Do not fear, I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, Isaiah 41:10. He will. He will help you. He will strengthen you, even through the most difficult times. Casting all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. Imagine that. We can throw all our problems on him. Why? Because he loves us, because he cares for you. When's the last time somebody said, you know what, I love you. Share with me what's going on in your life. Yeah, most people run from that. God doesn't. He says, cast all your anxieties on him. God is doing a new thing. Forget the former things. Don't dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Isaiah 43:18 and 19. There is purpose. We know that for those who love God, all things work together for good to those who are called according to his purpose. I didn't like that verse either. I'm just being real with y'all. I couldn't see anything working together for good in some of my situations. And I didn't think I'm not saying that God couldn't do it. I'm just saying I couldn't see it because I couldn't see the good that was coming. According to his purpose, okay, that's a little bit different. And then I started seeing it. You can find rest. Come to me, all you are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. My flesh and my heart fails. Oh my gosh. But God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Wow. No matter what I'm going to go through, Psalm 73:26 says he is my portion forever. Talk to God. Confess your feelings. Ask for guidance. Be honest with him. You don't have to sit there, well, our Father who lovest me and careth for me. No. Tell him what you're feeling, what you're thinking. He already knows it anyway. You can't shock him. He's not going to leave you. He's not going to deny you. Lean on friends, family, and a faith-based support group. Psalm 34:18. Remind yourself of the hope for a pain-free future with scriptures like Revelation 21:4. He will wipe every tear from our eyes. There will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever. That's the New Living Translation. Wow. Wow. There was a small statue. It was Precious Moments. I don't know if y'all remember that. It was a little girl. It was a lady walking all bent over with a handkerchief, crying. It was evident she had been crying, and she was walking to the gates of heaven. And there was a bucket right next to the gate that had something about handkerchiefs or tears or something, I don't know. And everybody had the ability to put their cloth that they had been crying on in that bucket, because once they walk through that promised land, through that gate of heaven, the tears are gone, the hurt is gone. And someday I would love to find that again, because that is true. It can be true here on earth as well. I know it is, because I have lived it. I have lived loss, and I have seen how God can heal and put me back and wipe my tears, and no more crying, no more sorrow. Take small active steps forward. Even with God's help, take intentional steps to begin rebuilding, like the self-care activities we mentioned. Take small steps. What things can be helpful for you to move forward? One step at a time. That's all you're needed. Just keep moving forward. Do what you need to do to take care of you to become the whole healed woman or man of God that you are. Wait for the Lord. Don't assume the way you feel today is the way it will always be. It won't be. In time, the Lord will change things. Big, little, small, he'll change things. He will, which means that this is a good God-appointed season of waiting. I've learned over the years and years of watching my own heart and counseling lots of people. Americans, or maybe you could say modern people in general, want quick solutions. Isn't that the truth? We fuss at McDonald's or Wendy's line because the food isn't out fast enough. We don't like waiting. But God is seldom in a hurry, and it's amazing. God is simply seldom in a hurry. It's almost as if he prefers the slow pace of healing and strengthening. Well, I think that's important, because as we go through the paces, if we would go, okay, I'm healed, we'd miss a lot of stuff, a lot of learning, a lot of love, a lot of growth. We'd miss a lot of stuff. I think it's important that we take it slow. I don't like slow still to this day, but It's important that we do that. We listen to him, and we find out what he would have us do, what he would have us continue to walk in, or a light at the end of every tunnel. That's true, Paulette. That's very good. Doing things the same way, expecting a different outcome. I think I read that out loud once before, but yep, that's not a good idea. All good thoughts, all great to see you on tonight. Thank you so much. I just want to encourage anybody and everybody. If you're feeling like you want to hurt yourself and somebody else, please, please, please reach out for help. Reach out, first of all, most of all, to our Lord and Savior Jesus. He will help you, and then he'll guide you to where you need to go. He'll guide you to how you need to do this, how you need to get over this. And then seek a professional, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. I prefer a pastor, but many times they don't do that. The police, your local Y has many things to help with those type of issues. But seek somebody, someplace, somewhere to get the help you need when you're struggling. God loves you and will guide you, and reach out to professionals. Call or text the 988 hotline. They are amazing. I watched a documentary on them on PBS one night, and it is amazing what they do. There's always help. There's always hope. Always hope. Always hope. There is. Reach out and get some help for what you're going through. I love you all. I'm praying for you. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I'll see you next week. God bless you.